Hello guys, Mr. Daniel here. Okay, so in this final part of the blended learning, okay, you guys have already understand keyframe interpolation, both spatial and temporal, and also you guys have already know your way around graph editor. Okay, so in this last part, we are going to animate a simple building vector, which I will show you right after this. Okay, step by step, and I hope you guys can finish it on your own after I have demoed to you on how to use the graph editor more efficiently. Okay, alright, so I have given you the file building1.ai. so this is the building that we are going to animate in this the final part of the tutorial. And you notice that I have already separate each of the elements here into a different layer. Okay, so there is total of 8 layers. Okay, so we are going to bring this into After Effects to animate. Alright, inside After Effects, let's right click on our project panel space here and choose import file. Okay, and let's find that building1 AI file. Okay, and before we import it, this is very important, make sure that this footage here we change it to composition, retain layer sizes, and make sure the sequence options is unticked. Alright, so let's press import, and as you can see in our project panel here, we see that we have the layers here. After Effects will create a folder for you if you import like a file from Photoshop, Illustrator, and any of their other software. You can see also they will create a composition based on that AI file. Okay, so what can we do with this is, instead of importing each of these individual layers, we can just double click on building1. So when I double click, it will open the composition for you. Okay, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the composition settings. Okay, I want to make the background white so that it's much clearer, and each of the arrangement of the layer is again replicating whatever we have done inside Illustrator. Okay, so one thing that you guys need to keep in mind is that all of these layers are linked to that original Illustrator file. So if you guys make a change inside Illustrator, you save that file and come back here, it will update based on the latest changes of that Illustrator file. Okay, for example, if I delete this layer or I change the color of this tree from green to maybe blue, okay, the next time you open After Effects or you save that file and you press save inside After Effects, it will automatically update. Okay, so make sure you guys finish up your illustration first and finalize it before you import it here. Okay, if you want to just work on illustrate vector layers as compared to shape layers. Okay, alright, so how do we start animating this building? Okay, it's all about planning and understanding what comes in and how does it complete the whole animation. Okay, for me, for this tutorial, I want to start with something simple first. Okay, so the planning is that I want to have the base here to come in from below. Okay, and then I want this part to maybe scale up. Okay, and then expand here and then drop down on the base. Okay, and then this one here, okay, the upper level maybe will slide behind the first level, or it come from the left or right. Okay, or it can just come from the top. Okay, the roof, okay, I think I want it to like come from top like this. Okay, land on the upper level. For the windows, I want to scale it up individually. It's like a pop-up animation. Okay, it will appear one by one. And for the tree will be the last one that will animate in. So I want to do something special with the tree, maybe something a bit different. as compared to the other parts of the building. Okay, so let's start with the base first. So I'm going to tutup everything first and just focus on the base. Okay, how do I animate from outside to inside is that I'll always keyframe the last when I create a keyframe, I want to make sure that the second keyframe or the last keyframe will be the original position of the base or the object that I'm animating. So I'm going to press P on the keyboard. Okay, and macam biasa, press on the stopwatch, and then I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm going to move the first keyframe to the first second ataupun the 25th frame. Okay, so so this determines that the animation will stop at the first second. This is the final look ataupun the final position of the base. Okay, so I'm going to go backwards. Okay, press on the base and then move it down. Alright, so by doing this, we always retain the original position of the object that we are animating. Okay, so next, okay, as you guys have all learned, I'm going to select both of the keyframes and then right click keyframe assistant and then go to easy ease or select them and then press F9. Okay, that is the shortcut. Alright, so when we preview it, okay, we have a bit of smooth animation, but I want to have more control over it. So the only way that we can do it is by going inside the graph editor. So click on the graph editor. Okay, make sure you guys are in the edit speed graph. Okay, that is very important. Okay, and not a value graph. So our graph shows that it's slowing in and slowing out. Okay, I want to make the end part a bit more slower. I'm going to select the handle at the end here and just pull it in. Okay, left click and put it in. So just by looking at the graph, okay, you will know that the animation is very fast in the beginning and it slows down in the end. Alright, okay, now we're done with the base. Okay, next we are going to animate the lower level. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to select everything, okay, and I'm going to, except for the base, and I'm going to drag it and move to the right. Okay, about around 1 second. Okay, why I'm doing this? Because I don't want the other layers to be visible during the base animation here, because there's no animation. We are not seeing anything other than the base. Okay, why are we leaving the other layers to be visible? Okay, it just distracts us from the work or our progress. Okay, so next we are going to animate the lower level here. Okay, just like the original the idea that I've discussed right now, just now, I'm going to animate it. It will come flying from below, it will scale up and it lands on the base. Okay, so the property that we are going to animate is obviously position and also scale. Okay, before doing that, I'm going to use my pan behind tool, which is the tool here, or the shortcut Y. I'm going to drag the anchor point to the base. Okay, to do this precisely, you can enable snapping, and then it will snap to that to the edge of the lower level, right? Okay, next I'm going to press P to animate position, press on the stopwatch, press S to create another keyframe for the scale, press U. Okay, while it should not be animating the anchor point. Okay, press U to open all keyframed attributes, and then drag this around 2 seconds. Okay, I'm dragging this to around 2 seconds because it's like visible and it's aligned with the 2-second mark. You can actually just push it anywhere that you like. It's just how I like to work with when I'm animating. I can adjust later on lah. Alright, next I'm going to bring this down and then bring the scale to 0. Okay, before that, I think I'm going to bring the scale to like maybe 10. Okay, alright, so it's small, and then bring it down like this. Alright, cool. So what do we got? We only got like that. So we want the base to like jump ataupun like rise above the floor level. So around here in the middle between the 1 second and 2 second, okay, I'm going to push this lower level, okay, far above the floor, and then I'm going to push the scale from 50 to 110, which is bigger than the original size, because the original size is always 100%, guys. So I'm going to push it further by going to 110%. Right, so what do we got here? Alright, we have something like this. Okay, boom, boom. Alright, so the animation itself, it looks like the lower level is expanding and landing on the floor bit, but it doesn't have that smooth ataupun that good impact that I want. So next, obviously, we are going to animate ataupun change around the interpolation and also the graph editor. Okay, select everything. I'm going to press F9. Okay, we have a bit of smooth animation. So the idea is that I want the lower level here, or the object, to really like floats around the air like this, and then it drops down. Okay, it's like it's fighting with gravity before it falls down. Alright, and I want it to be very fast when it first expanding from outside of the frame. Okay, so let's highlight position first. Okay, open the graph editor, and we can see that we have this shape for the graph, and I want to select the middle handle here and then push the handle to the right. Okay, so here we got the animation is fast around here, and then it slows down, and then it's fast again. Boom. Okay, I'm going to also select the right handle and push this to the right, so that the animation is at the end is a bit more faster. Okay, and then we have something like this. Right, so when we play, it has a bit more smoothness to it, and also it looks more dynamic. Okay, before I animate further, I want to just change the interpolation of the spatial from continuous to linear. Okay, so that I don't have any like overshoots, or the value exceeds the value that I'm keyframing it right now. Okay, it always happens when you first change it into easy ease. Alright, next is I want to add a bit of bounce or squash and stretch. Okay, when something is impacting, you want a bit of that bounce, so that you can have the illusion of force, a bit illusion of impact. Okay, so, and also understanding the volume of that shape. Okay, so when it lands on the floor, I want it to have a bit of squash. Alright, when it lands. So what I'm going to do is, okay, looking at the scale here, this is the final keyframe. I'm going to move a bit to the right, okay, by 2 frames. Add another keyframe for the scale by pressing this button here, add keyframe. I'm going to move to the previous keyframe and then unlink the scale, so that I can disproportionate adjust the scale disproportionately, and then I can squish it like this. Okay, obviously it will affect the ones previously. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy and paste this keyframe here, which has the uniform scaling or uniform proportion, and paste it just before the impact. So I'm going to select this keyframe, Ctrl C to copy, and Ctrl V to paste. Alright, and move it just here. Alright, just before the impact. So when we play, you can see that Okay, it has that sudden impact there. Okay, you have that punch. Okay, but here is next is just tidying up the animation in terms of the timing. Okay, when you feel it's too fast or too slow, you can adjust around the keyframe and go back to the graph editor and refine your graph. So for this one, I'm just going to create more distance between these keyframes. Okay, so maybe here. Alright, so it's not too fast in terms of the maybe I can also move it like here. Alright, so the squash starts a bit late, and also going to select all of these keyframes and move it to the left so that it's faster when it falls down. Okay, all of those minor adjustments you can do after you have completed all of your keyframes. Okay, so this is what we got. Alright, so I think the distance or the timing between the base and the lower level is a bit too far. Okay, so I'm going to take the layer of the lower level and move it to the left. Okay, and also it's a bit awkward that the lower level here appears in front of the base. So I think I'm going to move the lower level here, or I'm going to move the base to the top of the layer. Alright, yeah, it doesn't affect too much other than hiding that our building behind. Okay, alright, next I'm going to just finish up everything else. Okay, and then I'm going to show you how to animate the window by animating and add a bit of bounce to that window. Okay guys, let me just adjust first. So this is what I have so far. Alright, so I animate those really quickly, and then we are going to animate the window next. Okay, I'm just going to color code this to another color so I can see it really clearly. So after the roof animates, or while the roof is animating, so somewhere here I'm going to drag the 3 windows here to the right. Okay, maybe bring it to the top. It doesn't really matter because the window is always visible in front of the upper level layer. Alright, so since all of the windows look the same, and we want to apply the same animation, and to do this we don't need to animate the same thing all over again. We can just animate one and copy those keyframes to the other 2 windows. Okay, so the idea here is that I'm going to make this window appear from nothing and then have a bit of bounce effect. Okay, so I'm going to press S for scale. The anchor point in the middle is already enough. So create a new keyframe there by clicking on stopwatch, and then in the beginning of the layer here I'm going to just make it 0. Okay, so we are going to have something like that. Alright, to have a bit of a bounce effect we need 2 additional keyframes right after our end keyframe here. Okay, so I'm just going to click to add 2 new keyframes. Okay, so right now as you can see all 3 of them have the same values. Alright, so all of them are 100%. Right, so to add that bounce effect, the first or the second keyframe right after the first keyframe, it needs to exceed the default value. So right now my default value is 100% in terms of the scaling. Okay, I'm going to push it to 110, so it's bigger or exceed the default value. And then the second or the third keyframe here, I'm going to make it less than the default value. So from 100% I'm going to type in 90. Okay, so the higher or the bigger the difference in between the values of the between the defaults and the other values, okay, it makes a stronger bounce lah. So right now I just want it to be just enough to see the effect. Okay, so when we play it, we have something like that. Okay, next is, oops, I click something. I'm just going to refine the timing. Alright, and then select everything, press F9. Okay, maybe adjust a bit of these keyframes here so that the bounce is fast and not too apart from each other. Okay, and then something like that. Okay, so you can see that just by applying this simple principle, we can have a bit of a more interesting animation to the window. Okay, now we have these 4 sets of keyframes here. I'm just going to select everything, press Ctrl C to copy, okay, and apply it or paste it to the other windows. So press S, Ctrl V, S, Ctrl V. Okay, now you get the same animation for all of the windows. Okay, but I'm not going to stop here. Okay, I'm going to add more variation to the animation just by offsetting the 3 windows. Offsetting means that the animation does not happen at the same time, even though they are the same window. So I'm going to select window 2 and window 3 and move it to the right. Okay, you can see that it creates this like a stepping step effect here, step arrangement. Okay, you can see that while window 1 is animating, window 2 is animating, and finally window 3. So overall, we will get something like this. Alright, see? So let's refine a bit of the animation there, not to. Alright, so right now we are just, again, all of the animation that I have applied, all are within the basics that we have learned up till now. Okay, it's how you adjust those keyframes, and in terms of the timing, speed of the animation, as well as how you manipulate the graph editor, is eventually what makes the animation interesting at the end of the day. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. Okay, and I want you guys to finish up your own animation. For the tree, I will make a separate tutorial and maybe upload it later, so that I want to just share you guys a more complex way on how you can animate a simple vector like the tree here. Okay, until next time, thank you guys and all the best.